If you guys want to win a copy of the Ultimate Edition of FIFA 19 worth around $100, all you need to do is leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below and subscribe to my channel. Do those three things, that'll enter you into the giveaway and I'll be sending a copy to one of you guys when the game's released. Hey guys, Etherway here, and today with a huge amount of weird and random and unexpected transfers going down in the current transfer window, I thought why not show you guys some of the weirdest and most random transfers of all time. So I've collated 18 of just the most unexpected random transfers ever into one video to show you guys. This was really interesting to kind of do the research and find out about some of these players. So if you guys want to see more of these videos, it doesn't have to be on transfers, it could be on like the best goals, the weirdest goals, the best own goals, whatever. Let me know down below. Hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like, subscribe if you're on your own here, and without further ado, let's go into it. So we're going to start off in the goalkeeper position with Julio Cesar. Now, he was playing at Inter Milan around about 2010, 2011. He was at the peak of his career and he was one of the best keepers in world football. And then randomly, he went to QPR when they were at the bottom or around the bottom of the Premier League. He ended up actually getting relegated down to the Championship, I believe, with them. And then he went to Toronto. Really random transfer. He's now back in top level football, playing for Benfica. He's been really good for them, but yeah, two really random transfers for him, stepping down from Inter Milan to QPR and then over to the MLS. He was one of the first big players to actually go to the MLS as well. Now moving up into the defence, on the left hand side we've got Roberto Carlos. He went from Real Madrid to Anzhi Makhachelela. I don't think that's how you say the team's name, but they're in Russia and they aren't obviously like a top team. They also signed another player who you will see later on in this video as well. It was just a really random transfer for him to go from one of the best teams in the world as one of the best players in his position of all time to a random Russian team. Also we've got Jonathan Woodgate, another player with Real Madrid. Now he actually went from Middlesbrough to Real Madrid. I think it was for about £10 million. It was a really random transfer at the time. He got injured and sent off on his debut and then came back later in the season and got sent off again. He was awful for Real Madrid. I think he then went back to Middlesbrough, and his last FIFA was FIFA 16, and then I think he has now retired. We've also got Javier Mascherano. He's had a random transfer in his career to West Ham, along with another player you will see in this video. And it wasn't just random, the fact that he'd gone to West Ham. That wasn't the random thing. It was the fact that there was a lot of kind of dodgy business with the actual signing, and West Ham actually got fined quite a lot of money for it because they didn't go about it the right way apparently. Not fully sure how it worked, but they kind of illegally signed him, which they weren't meant to do. We've also got Jennings in the left mid position. Now he randomly signed for Bayern Munich at one point. He never played for them, and then he went back to playing like in the Championship. I think he was kind of a Championship or lower kind of level tier player in the Football League in England. Randomly went to Bayern Munich, never played, and then came back. We've then got Paulinho. He is one of the ones from the recent transfer window, but he has had a couple of weird transfers. He originally went from Corinthians to Spurs, and then went off to China and was one of the first kind of big players to do so. He was an international. He was playing regularly for Brazil. He was playing in the Premier League, and then went to China. Then he went to Barcelona. But after just one season where he was actually quite good, he was their third top scorer in La Liga. He got, I think, like 13 goals in all competitions. He was not bad at all, and they had a great season winning the Copa del Rey and La Liga. He's gone back to China on a loan deal, which is really random, and they actually have the option to buy him at the end of the season. And this just doesn't make sense because they've sold Iniesta, or he's left the club. I think his contract expired, so he's left. And their midfield is looking quite weak now, so you'd expect them to maybe sign someone big, but it was quite a random transfer. We've also got Kim Källström. He signed from a Swedish club, I believe, to Arsenal, and it was really random because they actually signed him when he had, I'm not sure if it was a broken back, but he had like really bad back issues, so he was injured when they signed him, and then he never really played for them. We've also got Faubert. He went from West Ham to Real Madrid. Really random transfer. Real Madrid have signed a couple of random players that just haven't really played at all for them, and Faubert was one of them. We've also got David Villa in the attacking midfield position. He went from Barcelona to Atletico Madrid and then randomly went to Melbourne City. No other big player had really ever gone to the Australian League, and he went there very kind of out of the blue for literally like a couple of months and then went off to New York City. Very random transfer, not too sure what happened. I believe it is because he actually signed for New York City, but their season hadn't started yet, so he played in the Australian League where the league was still going on, as New York City and Melbourne City are actually owned by the same owners, actually the same owners who own Man City and Girona as well. But then off front we've got two Man United players. The first one is Bebe. Now he's actually developed into quite a good player now. I believe he plays in La Liga, but he was signed by Alex Ferguson, who apparently never actually saw him play, and he was homeless. He was playing in the Homeless World Cup, which I'm not sure if that still goes on, but that used to be an event back in the day. And yeah, he was playing that, played really well, got scouted, and then played for United. He never actually really played for them. I don't actually think he even started a game or ever got any minutes on the pitch, but he was signed really randomly. He was never actually seen to be playing, and then he went off, I believe, to Eibar and also a couple of Portuguese teams, and was okay there. We then got Dimitar Berbatov. Now he was actually meant to be signing for Man City, I believe from Tottenham, but at the airport when he landed in Manchester, Alex Ferguson met him and persuaded him to join United. So he was actually on his way to City to sign a contract. He landed in the airport. They'd already done all the negotiations and everything. I think it was maybe his medical he was meant to do, and he got intercepted at the airport. Alex Ferguson got him a taxi and he went off to Man United. Next up, moving down onto the bench, we start off with Carlos Tevez. He's in the same boat as Javier Mascherano, as in he illegally signed for West Ham, and there were quite a few repercussions. As I said, I believe they did get fined, but he has also had a couple of other quite random transfers in his career. He went from Juventus when he was at the peak of his career. He went to Boca Juniors and he was playing at a very high level in the Champions League. I believe they got to the final with him. He won numerous Serie A titles and Coppa Italias as well, and then he went off there, and then he went to Shanghai SIPG and briefly became the most highly paid player in world football. He hardly played for them though, I don't even think he scored, and then he's left them, I believe, now back to Boca Juniors. We've also got Lee Grant. Now this transfer took place a couple of days ago and he signed for Man United from Stoke. He's about 38, I think. He's ancient, and I think he may have played slightly last season when Butland was injured, but he's coming at United. They already have Romero and De Gea. He's obviously not going to be starting ahead of them, and Stoke got relegated, so really random transfer to be signing like a 38-year-old from a relegated team to come in as a third choice keeper. It doesn't really make much sense, but anyway, that happened. We've also got Gignac. This one here is quite random. He was playing for Marseille and he was playing really well. He was probably at the peak of his career. He was in the French squad. He was doing quite well. He actually played in the final of the Euros around kind of 2016, 2015, that kind of time there. He was playing really well for Marseille. And then randomly he decided to go and join Tigres, a team in Mexico, and there aren't really any big name players that play there, especially from Europe. Players don't normally go there, so it was really random. He was at the peak of his career. He could have gone to maybe a Premier League team. I believe clubs like West Ham were interested. He could have gone anywhere, and for some reason he actually went off to Mexico, and since then he isn't in the French setup anymore, and it's just a really random transfer. We've also got Samuel Eto'o. He again went to Anji Makalala, just like Carlos. And yeah, it was a random transfer. He was paid a lot of money. I think that's the main reason he actually left. I'm not sure which club he actually went to them from. It may have been Barcelona or Inter Milan, but I'm not 100% sure. Correct me on that down below if I am wrong about it. He also went to Everton for a couple of months. That was a bit of a random transfer. He's played for so many different clubs, but he did play for Everton and Chelsea at one point. Everton, I think, was in like 2016 or 15, so that was another bit of a random transfer. We've also got this guy called Markkanen. He signed from AIK for Real Madrid, and he never played for them, and then he went back to AIK, I think, so a really strange transfer there. And I think they also signed Ostergaard, I think that's his name. Maybe not. There's a player who used to be really hyped, and Real Madrid signed him when he was like 16, and then he never really played for them. No, Odegaard, Martin Odegaard, that's the player. And then also we've got Ravel Morrison. Now this one is a bit random just because you never really see English players playing abroad. It's very rare. I mean, very occasionally you do see it, for example, when Joey Barton went to play for Marseille for a bit. But Ravel Morrison originally was at United, then went to West Ham, and then he went to Lazio for a bit and never played. And then he's gone randomly to play for Atlas in Mexico, and he's played a little bit. I think he actually got a winter upgrade on FIFA 18, but really random to see an English player playing in Mexico. It's just something you would never expect. And then finally we've got Esteban Cambiaso, and this one is quite random. It's not too random because it was actually a free transfer, but he was playing for Inter Milan, playing really well. Inter Milan were one of the best teams in the world for quite some time, and he was one of the key players in that squad. And then he randomly went to Leicester. Now obviously Leicester are currently a decent team. They've got some good players, and they won the Premier League a couple of years ago, but when he signed for them, they'd literally just got promoted, and they were a very, very weak team in that season. They just about stayed up, and he was a very key player behind that. He was probably their best player in that season. But yeah, it was really random to see an Inter Milan player, a really good player, a well-known international player as well for Argentina, just off the cuff really going to Leicester. But I think that was a free transfer. But there we go, those are some of the most weird and random transfers of all time. Let me know down below which of these you think is the weirdest, and if there are any I have missed out, be sure to let me know. I'm not sure what I'd say the weirdest one would be. I think Jonathan Woodgate's a really funny one, just because of the fact he got sent off twice and injured, and obviously all that happened on his debut as well. And just going from Middlesbrough to Real Madrid is so random. And I think also Bebe's quite a funny one, just because he was homeless. He was playing in the Homeless World Cup, and he was never actually seen by Alex Ferguson, and then signed for United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and then never really played for them. But he's actually a decent player. He's got his career back on track now. But anyway, hope you guys did enjoy this. If you want to see more of these types of videos in the future, be sure to let me know. I know it's not the best of videos in terms of editing and all that, but that's because I'm going away to Portugal for about 2 weeks or so I need to get lots of videos prepared for you guys. Hope you guys enjoy though, and I'll catch you later. Take care.